Welcome to Cinemondo Shots with Kathy, Mark, Bert, and Darwin.
Darwin.
This is where we take a name out of a hat. We put a whole bunch of things in there. Movies, movie stars, things we like, things we don't like.
And we
draw
don't know what people put in there.
Yeah, we don't know what each other put in there. But we draw them out at random, and we give it 10 minutes of discussion. Limit it to 10 minutes. We set the timer, and at the end of the timer, we hear the Wilhelm scream, and whoever's talking
takes a shot.
Right there.
Take
See?
the shot.
The good stuff.
Ta-da, right here.
Highland Park. Okay. All right. Here's the.
Highland Park, the good stuff.
Here it is. Kathy, your turn.
Okay. Now, this can sometimes be scary.
It's always scary.
All right.
Let me do the timer here. Hold on. Okay, we're ready. 10 minutes.
At least I know we've all seen it.
Okay.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And
What is there to say?
start 10 minutes.
Toby Hooper, directed.
Toby Hooper, who we lost.
That's right.
Recently.
We did lose him recently.
People think of that title. That's one of those titles, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And a lot of people go, no way am I ever going to see a movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's like the most horrific title ever. And it's a horrifying horror movie, but it's actually a piece of art.
And it's not nearly as gory as you might think it is. Because
No.
I was definitely one of the ones that was kind of like, I don't want to see this.
I was
chainsaws. Like, that's
chainsaws.
too much for me. Yeah, too much. I would see Leatherface and all that stuff. It's like, I don't want to see him, chopping up people. No, it's not. And so it was scary. But then when I finally saw it in college, I'm like, oh, wow. That was really good and really not as offensive in that sense. It was
It's
scary.
super violent, but there's not a lot of blood. Oddly, it's a lot of implied violence.
The idea of it is horrifying, and it's one of those things where you don't have to see it. Obviously, if anybody thinks you really have to see everything, watch this movie, and this really shows you where the horror lives in a story.
And I think if you have seen it and you remember the super bloody, gory movie, check again. Because a lot of people think it's super bloody, and then you watch it, you're like, there's nothing in this.
There's a scene where it's just like, the chainsaw goes down on somebody's thigh, and you see a little bit of, a little blood there, but that's it.
Everything that's the only blood in the whole film.
I believe so. Everything else is like the slamming shut of that crazy door.
Or they're showing the person from the back, and he's coming at them, but you never really actually see the damage.
Yeah.
You don't need to see it.
No.
And the idea, the story is where the horror comes in that one. It's the standard, group of young people, teenager types, maybe in their 20s, who go out into sort of a isolated pre-cell phone times. And I think what it is they're going to see the old family house, right? There's some house that somebody grew up in, and they're just going to go see this because somebody died.
They have a cool stoner van.
And it's the early 70s, so everybody was hitchhiking or doing that was just what you did. That's how you got around, especially in places like Texas, which were huge states.
Long
miles and miles.
Space of highway between this town and that town.
Yeah.
That's Darwin's tail banging on the
Under
table.
the table.
But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I remember it had the first time I saw it, the reputation it had before I saw it was like, you're not going to survive this film. Yeah. This film is going to drive you insane. It's so horrifying and horrific.
Yeah. Wasn't that a great feeling to I think back to boy, there's something out there that I just don't think I can handle.
Right. It just seemed like, no, I don't want that in my head.
Yeah.
It's like skydiving. I remember going with my friends. It was showed at I think the College Theater in Tallahassee. And a couple friends of mine and I went and saw it, and we were sitting there. I remember before it started, it's like, all right.
It's like, are we going to be able to survive?
It's like getting ready to jump out of the plane, your first parachute jump. And it starts off with, I think the first images are corpses on gravestones, and it's got that kind of documentary feel to the beginning of it where these terrible grave robberies are being discussed on the news. And then it goes to this van full of, young people, cool young people going out to see this house, and they don't realize that there's a nearby house
Well, don't they say based on a true story for this?
Yeah, or they say this is a true story.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
Story.
based on a true story. This is true.
True. It's
this
happening.
happened.
Yeah.
And this is actual footage of what happened.
Well, I think it's funny too because it hits on a lot of things in horror that a lot of different situations in horror movies all in one movie.
Yeah.
Like first you have the murder on the loose. Then you have picking up hitchhikers, never a good idea. Then you have like the creepy gas station and the kind of local yokel kind of deliverance-y kind of creepiness. Then you
Yeah.
have the crazy family, the abduction, the like super violent murder scene. You know, so it has so many horror elements. It's like the perfect horror film.
But the true part of it, when they were saying based on a true story, or they actually said it's a true story, but they were basing it kind of on this guy named Ed Gein,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who did dig bodies up. I don't know, did
He didn't use chainsaws, so.
No.
No.
And it wasn't Texas either, but he...
Other than that, it was true.
But a lot of the set dressing in
Michigan
Texas
or something?
Chainsaw Massacre is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The house that they go into, there's all these things made out of bones. There's the
Gein did do that.
the production design is beautiful in this
Yeah.
film, and it's really creepy and looks real. I mean, when you see like there's a scene of like a chair that's
Yeah.
got the arms of the chair are actual severed
Yes.
arms of
Yeah.
like an old mummified corpse.
Yeah.
And it looks so real. And the style of the film and the nature of the way the film stock looks, you feel like you're looking at something that was just filmed as it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
You know, somebody went into this place with a camera and filmed this stuff.
Yeah. It's
It's-
very unsettling. It's
Yeah.
an unsettling film. And, there's so many 70s horror movies, and they still talk about this one as a
Yeah.
touchstone of modern horror. Tells you how great it was.
It still holds up.
Yeah.
It does.
has two of my favorite scenes from horror movies in it. One is him slamming that door.
Yeah.
It's such a great, like, it's over. Bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other one's just that last scene of him spinning in the sunset with that chainsaw, almost like he's a ballet dancer, just spinning it around and swinging it. It's such a great scene.
And they filmed it at the sunset, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
sunset.
or
and-
sunrise.
And he's like
right?
almost like a silhouette. Is it sunrise? Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's
it must
the
be
sun
sunrise.
coming up.
And he's just almost a silhouette, and he's just spinning with this chainsaw, just like, roar. It was like so good.
Very surreal ending.
Really great. Great. And last great shot.
It's got a bunch of other sequences in there that are like classic moments. There's the actor who plays the hitchhiker. They pick up this hitchhiker and he is nuts. And
You
he's
would
like,
not want to pick this guy up.
it's like if you ever thought about picking up a hitchhiker, this is the guy who goes through your mind. And you're like,
This will
okay,
cure you of hitchhikers.
I'm not picking this person
Never.
up. He's going to be like that guy. I mean, this guy is just, he's like one of these manic nutcase guys. You like head cheese? My brother makes it real good. And then he starts cutting himself and he's got the blood and he takes pictures of people with his
Yeah.
Polaroid camera. And it's a really good performance. What is the actor's name? I wish I could remember his name.
Ooh.
This is where we go to the iPhone.
Should I?
But he's kind of
name.
like the standout in the
He
film.
is.
The other
He's so
actors are good, but they're low key. They're realistic.
Yeah.
But the hitchhiker guy is he's unforgettable.
Well, the woman, the main woman,
Marilyn Burns.
Marilyn Burns.
she's great. I love. She has that great scene where she looks crazy with the blood on her face and she's just screaming and her
Yeah.
hair is blowing. Another great scene, just
Yeah.
beautifully shot.
Was it Paul Partain?
Maybe.
No, I think I'd recognize his name if I heard it.
John Dugan? No, that wasn't that.
No.
Edwin Neal? Jim
I think it's
Sido?
Edward Neal.
Edwin Neal?
That does
Edwin
seem-
Neal.
Yeah,
that seems
okay.
right.
I think he's the hitchhiker.
Okay. Nubbins Sawyer was his character.
Nubbins. Anyone named Nubbins, don't get involved. No.
Is that his name in the movie?
Nubbins Sawyer, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're on Match.com
Well, that's
and
part
you
of
see
the
Nubbins,
it was the Sawyer family. Drayton Sawyer, Grandpa Sawyer, Nubbins Sawyer. Anyway.
you know our guest Devin Whitehead loves Texas Chainsaw 2. Which I only saw once and didn't get, I guess, because I was like, you're expecting the first one, which is a classic.
And it was Toby Hooper. I think he directed that
I
one
think
too.
he did. With
He's-
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
I
It
remember
was a-
not liking that movie.
I didn't like it either. I think it was going for laughs or something. It was
Was
trying
Eric
to be-
Roberts in that?
I don't remember.
I remember definitely Dennis Hopper was.
I
like
remember
the-
people talking about that. Like, I remember a friend of mine told me that it was profoundly disturbing. That's what he said, and I went
thought it
and
was more
saw
funny.
it. And I thought the first one is more disturbing.
Yeah.
This one just seemed
it
seemed stagey to me.
It had
the
more,
makeup seemed makeup-y.
It was more Hollywoodish.
It was very commercial.
And it had more kind of gore, legit, like sort of standard practical effects of the time and stuff. And therefore, it showed you stuff that just wasn't as scary as slamming a steel sliding door shut.
Exactly.
You know?
You know,
The
it's funny,
set dressing
too.
seemed very set dressing,
Yes.
set dressed.
Yeah, it felt like a music
colored
video.
lights
It
kind of
was-
horror.
And even the remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they showed you the stuff they didn't show you in the first movie, and it wasn't nearly as scary, or it was just gross.
Because again, it was a Hollywood production. You could
Yeah.
tell it was, it was set bound. A lot of it. It wasn't. That felt like it was filmed somewhere out in some roads of
like
Texas.
you said, like a documentary, like it was happening.
it
The
felt like-
original one it definitely had a document. They filmed it on real locations. You could tell those houses
And
were
didn't they
real.
have like a story? Didn't they have like a narrator? Somebody sort
Yeah.
of. So with that voice, that deep voice.
They had
Like
the
a
guy from Night
newscaster.
Court.
Yeah.
What's his
John
name?
Larroquette.
Larroquette.
Yeah.
He was doing the voiceover.
I think that's a
was
little known.
Was it Larroquette?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
You recognize him, you hear, you're like, it's that guy from Night Court.
Yeah.
But Toby Hooper's an interesting director.
Directed
Some of the, like
Poltergeist.
Funhouse and of course Poltergeist.
Poltergeist is his big one that no one gives him credit for because it looked like Steven Spielberg did it. Was that me? God.
That's the Wilhelm scream.
Okay.
10 minutes.
Down the hatch.
Okay.
Good for you. Good for you, Kathy.
Wow.
Good for you.
That's your 25th shot today.
Still hanging in there.
I still got Toby Hooper did Poltergeist. I still remembered that.
He did Life Force, too. It's
Life
another
Force.
another
Okay.
strange one. Anyway,
10
Matilda
minutes.
May.
rest in peace, Toby Hooper.
Yes.
Cinemondo Shots.
And thanks for joining us for
Bye.
another episode of Cinemondo Shots. This is Cinemondo signing off.
Bye.